had a lot of despair, mostly despair because we're now taking a route I do not like we're taking. But now you finally throw in some emotional despair. I guess the tagline of the chapter should something be like, "Did that really just happen?" After all, people cannot seem to get over the Pell incident. Hell, the fact that Pell survived that was one of my happiest moments ever. Not because he survived, but because it proved that One Piece is not based on reality. I hate reality, and the unreality of One Piece was one of the reasons I was drawn to it. But now begs the question, did Pedro just die? I basically spoiled the most important thing of the chapter, but to go into detail, this is the One Piece chapter, chapter 877. Oh, and by the way, we see more of Don Sai's story, and let me tell you, ew, that was disgusting. I mean, normally a girl that is well trained and all wouldn't actually be unattractive, but that face, oh my god, that face. I'm sorry I'm saying this. I mean, I know it sounds a little bit judgmental, but that face does not belong on a woman's body. We see Sai's ex fiance. Obviously, Sai's gonna tell her what has happened about Don Xinjiao putting off that arranged marriage and the fact that he promises to marry Baby Five. Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be some little bit hostility incoming. But in the chapter itself, Chopper and Brook, of course, have lost to Perospero because, well, Perospero is that, and he finally shows his most dangerous and, if you ask me, most nightmarish ability yet. It was confirmed by when he threatened Caesar that he can turn people into candy. But how he turns people into candy isn't just a simple whip you are a piece of candy. No, how he turns into candy, the candy corpse, is extremely dark, if you ask me. I mean, One Piece is no stranger to nightmare fuel, but there's something about this that is extremely dark. He covers Chopper's body with his candy-like syrup, and it says it will seep inside of his body, and eventually Chopper will die choking to death because, well, he won't no longer be able to breathe. Basically, his entire organs are gonna be filled with candy. It's almost like the House of Wax, where he dropped them in hot wax and turned them into living wax statues where they slowly died of suffocations. But this candy seeping into the body will eventually turn these into candy corpses, and then uh, Perospero can just lick them. Ooh, that is so cannibalistic. If there's one thing I can one of the most biggest thing I can complain about this chapter is the fact that Perospero is incredibly uh, annoying this chapter. His arrogance this entire chapter greatly agitated me. And if what really happened in the last chapter happens, then I have to say, yeah, that's a pretty disgraceful end for someone as arrogant as he. Either way, he finally sees that the Straw Hat Pirates are the ones who coming with Big Mom, of course, after. I mean, it's pretty satisfying to see him uh, finally eating up his words in understanding that the Straw Hats should not be underestimated. As I said before, he is arrogant this entire chapter. Katakuri tells the rest of the men to enter back into the mirror world because none a single one of them is any match against Luffy or his Haoshoku. Perospero creates a candy maiden where he will trap people and spike them. But Luffy breaks through that with a Gomu Gomu no Reddo Hawk. Although I think the reason why he broke through that candy wall was because it's not only a very powerful brute force attack, but it's also a power where Luffy channels friction fire. And as we all know, Peros candy is weak to fire, which is one of the reasons why Sanji could break through it. Oh yeah, but finally, Luffy and Katakuri clash in a strange scene that is actually very reminiscing of themselves, mind you. I mean, Katakuri stretches out his mochi-like arms while harness the buzo, while Luffy, of course, with his red hawk, also clashes with his. Even Carrot launches it. The guy's power is almost the same as Luffy. And in a way it is. The Mochi ability allows Katakuri to basically stretch out his limbs. The only difference is, I mean, and he's pretty fluid. The only difference is his entire body is this strange fluid. But I know that I heard that he is not a no, sorry, Logia. He's a special paramecia. If you ask me, what the hell is a special paramecia? Because Katakuri has all the abilities very similar to a Logia, so I see actually no reason why it should be a paramecia. Maybe it's called a special paramecia because if you think about it, mochi is not exactly an element, it's just some man-made substance. Or maybe it's a special because he has awakened it. Either way, Katakuri and Luffy fights because, well, Luffy is the only one who can get Katakuri off the ship and they need to sail off. Of course, knowing despair incoming, it's very unlikely will happen. Also, as they board the ship, Pedro suddenly says to Carrot that he believes Luffy and his friends might be the ones the Kosuke clan and the Mink family of the Momoko kingdom have waited for, the ones that will lead the world into the new dawn. He has mentioned that a lot of times before, but we do not know what that means. What is the new dawn? Is it a new dawn where all the races unite together, or is there something else? The very fact that he says this to Carrot seems to imply something, but we'll get to that in the end. Perospero calls Monteor, who contacts the other Tarts ships to attack, apparently confirming that Aladdin have not sabotaged the video snails under the water. I mean, it's not exactly confirmed if Aladdin was that merman who were fishing last chapter, but still, I wondered though if who the hell was that merman? If that was Aladdin, isn't he supposed to deactivate the communications? Because so far, if you ask me, the communications is not exactly deactivated. But things takes a turn for the worse as the nuts tart ships led by Amande appears, confirming that apparently Amande is a minister. And I guess that also should confirm that Amande is a Charlotte daughter, because as we as of yet every single minister have been a child of Big Mom, and although technically almost every single Big Mom pirate member has a name of a sweet, not just Big Mom's children, I think we can almost assume that Amande is a snake neck. I mean, did I really just say that? She is a snake neck. I mean, a snake neck hybrid of a human, that daughter of Big Mom. Because of the edible name and the fact that she holds the title Minister of Nuts, which once again also is a nice connection. That the fact that almost every single minister have is a minister based on their names. But then things takes a turn for the worse as somehow Perospero creates a candy web to trap the ship as Big Mom is only readying herself to a new attack. But then the chapter ends in an emotional manner as Pedro attacks Perospero but stands no chance against him because apparently Perospero's bounty is 700 million. You gotta be kidding me. Can you stop making this Big Mom pirate so powerful already? It's annoying. Because that's only gonna make their future defeat all the more unacceptable for people. But the chapter ends in an emotional manner, because it turns out that the bombs that Pedro used earlier in this arc were not the last ones. He takes them all, as Carrot can only watch in despair as she remembers what he says. I knew from the start this was my last voyage. You will realize one day just how important it is for Luffy and his friends to live out there. You must keep pushing forward. As Pedro, facing death with dignity and complete coolness, takes out his cigarettes and lights the dynamite, creating a huge explosion. Is the explosion while Pero is just close to him. And of course, we will not get a chapter next week. No, we will have to wait 2 weeks to see if any of them survived. I know, there's no one who's supposed to survive a point blank explosion, but this is One Piece. And I'm not talking about Pell moment, because I am actually one of the few people who actually did not mind Pell being survived by that explosion. But but I also believe that Dragon saved Pell because just because. But it's also the fact that you know I've seen the I've seen this One Piece character survive pretty worse things. So is this? But if we're talking for argument's sake, are we saying that this is the end of both Pedro and uh, you know Perospero? Is worth noting that when the explosion happened, the candy that hold down the sunny suddenly cracks. And according to Pedro, killing Perospero would disable the magic, and also the magic that is sealed. I mean, his candy powers, and that should also disable the candy corpse that is slowly turning Brook and Chopper into corpses. So, are we to assume that this is how Perospero met his end? A disgraceful bomb incident? For a guy worth 700 million, that is actually a pretty disgraceful way to die. But I'm saying that without criticizing it. He was insufferable and arrogant this entire chapter. So if he really did die there, then I have no problem with that. Just one more monster out of the window. But Pedro, is this really the. Are we really saying goodbye to Pedro? I mean, seeing Carrot's heartbroken face, that is definitely very heartbroken. There's also the fact that many, even me, have wondered, will Carrot join the Straw Hats? She has a dream to see the world, but she does not have a tragic past nor a loss of a loved one. However, could we count Pedro as a loss of a loved one, perhaps? Or is it more to Carrot's history than we do not know? All in all, if Pedro have died this one, it does make sense in a way because, as we all know, Pedro had lost 50 years of his life, and we did not find the homie with his life force in it. So I guess Pedro will have died either way. So him sacrificing himself sounds actually like something he would do. It's still just a question, though, that what's gonna happen now? I'll end this chapter by saying this. This is Luffy we're talking about. Luffy just saw Pedro sacrificing himself. And Luffy is a guy who will never allow any of his friends dying. There is no way Luffy is gonna take this well. He probably will take this better than when his brother died, definitely. But Luffy is a guy who has pushed forward and even now strongly believes he can defeat a Yonko. And as I said before, you can never ever stop Luffy unless you kill off some loved ones of him. So if Pedro really died this explosion, there's no way Luffy's gonna take that well. He probably will keep in his sadness just for them getting away, but still. All in all, a pretty emotional end. But we have to wait 2 weeks to see if it's really, truly emotional. But given the fact that the candy web from the sunny cracked, I'm beginning to think that Perospero really did die. So give me your thoughts, if you have any. The most heartbreaking moment this was seeing Carrot's crying face.